Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Yes. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Sato Jayamudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vāsudeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktim Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Okay. On this 27th day of April 2026 in San Diego, which is Mahadvarashi, celebrating Ekadashi, and it's Rukmini Dvarashi, the appearance of Sri Rukmini Devi, the chief queen of Lord Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 19, King Hiyati Achieved Liberation, Text 29, which is the concluding verse in the chapter. Please repeat. Namas Tubhyam Bhagavate Vāsudevaya Vedhase Sarva Bhutadivasaya Shantaya Prihate Namaha. Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vāsudevaya Vedhase Sarvabhutadivasaya Shantaya Brihate 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 Namaha. Govardhan. Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vāsudevaya Vedhase Sarvabhutadivasaya Shantaya Brihate Namaha. Want to try it, Nabi? Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vāsudevaya Vedhase Sarvabhutadivasaya Shantaya Brihate Namaha. Aditya. Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vāsudevaya Vedhase Sarvabhutadivasaya Shantaya Brihate Namaha. Anyone online want to try?
Namastubhyam Bhagavate
Namastubhyam Bhagavate
Vāsudevaya Vedhase
Vāsudevaya Vedhase
Sarvabhutadivasaya
Sarvabhutadivasaya
Shantaya Brihate Namaha.
Shantaya Brihate Namaha. Thank you, Vanessa. Okay.
Namastubhyam Bhagavate
Namastubhyam Bhagavate
Vāsudevaya Vedhase
Vāsudevaya Vedhase
Sarvabhutadivasaya
Sarvabhutadivasaya
Shantaya Brihate Namaha.
Shantaya Brihate Namaha. Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. Tubhyam, unto you. Bhagavate, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vāsudevaya, Lord Vāsudeva. Vedase, the creator of everything. Sarva Bhuta Adivasaya, present everywhere, within the heart of every living entity, and within the atom also. Shantaya, peaceful, as if completely inactive. Brihade, the greatest of all. Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances. Translation. Now, as far as I can understand, this is Devayani offering this prayer. O Lord Vāsudeva, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. You live as the Supersoul in everyone's heart and are smaller than the smallest. Yet you are greater than the greatest and are all-pervading. You appear completely silent, having nothing to do. But this is due to your all-pervading nature and your fullness in all opulences. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. How Devayani became self-realized by the grace of her great husband, Maharaj Yayati, is described here. Describing such realization is another way of performing the bhakti process. Shravanam kirtanam Vishno smaranam parasevanam archanam bandhanam dasyam sakyam atma nivedanam. Hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu. Remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming His servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto Him. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. Close quote. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. This is Prahlad Maharaj's famous instructions to his father, which again he didn't take properly. You know what happened to him. Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting are especially important. By hearing from her husband about the greatness of Lord Vāsudeva, Devayani certainly became convinced and surrendered herself unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. This is knowledge. Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Papadyate. Surrender to Vāsudeva is the result of hearing about him for many, many births. As soon as one surrenders unto Vāsudeva, one is liberated immediately. Because of her association with the great husband, Maharaj Yayati, Devayani became purified, adopted the means of Bhakti Yoga, and thus became liberated. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Yayati Achieves Liberation. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, all I can say, this is quite a happy ending to all of this back and forth with Devayani and Yayati and all of these things. Yayati took sannyas, trading his youth that he got from Puru back to Puru. And Devayani also became self-realized and apparently went back to Godhead also. So, what do we learn from this episode? One of the things is that if one is fortunate enough to receive knowledge, that even if one becomes degraded, one can still become delivered by finally accepting that knowledge. And I think Prabhupada understood that. When, he was so happy, when he saw that his movement actually was expanding and somebody was chanting Hare Krishna. And especially he was pushing the book production, which I was involved in as well, of course, the distribution. It had to be produced first. So, and everywhere he went, whether he was in the airport and some reporter came, or he's with his devotees in Los Angeles with 150 devotees in the class, he is always ready to give the absolute truth. Lord Krishna's instructions, Bhagavad Gita, so much from Bhagavatam. Last night we heard some about the Uddhava Gita, which is so important also. Just a little sidelight, as Maharaj would often say, that somehow or other, in my quest for enlightenment, I had a fair amount of association with the Ramakrishna Mission in New York City. They have quite an installation there, a big building and everything. And believe it or not, I found a nice translation of the Uddhava Gita there, printed, because it's Yatamat Tatapat, and one of the pats is Bhakti. So they had this translation. I forget who did it. But I was already getting involved, with the temple. I was going down and just chanting Hare Krishna. And that Uddhava Gita really, really turned me and made me more accepting of the path of Bhakti. And even though it was there, and I got it from the Ramakrishna Mission, it made me closer to the Srila Prabhupada mission, and helped me. So these books that we have are real treasures, and we should thank Srila Prabhupada every morning. When those of us who come to Mangalarti, I think everyone here comes to Mangalarti, and Samsara Dhavananda Jalaloka Tranaya Karunya Ganaganatvam. So the first thing is to feel the heat. Right? Samsara dava nanalita. We're suffering in this forest fire of samsara, the illusion of material pleasure here that keeps us bound for birth after birth in this material energy, which is full of all kinds of suffering, as Krishna always beautifully says, dukkhaliyam ashashvatam. It is an abode of various kinds of miseries, and even if you get a little happiness, it's temporary, and it's sure to be, right? Ashashvatam. So that's the world we live in, but without any knowledge or understanding or even inkling of the other world and the other life of Krishna consciousness, one tries to eke out as much pleasure as you can from this material world, and that just keeps us bound here more. And then we saw that this classic case of uncontrollable conjugal desire, if you will, Devyani Yati, even to the point of asking his son to give him his youth so that he could enjoy with Devyani. And it seemed to be, they're goners, But still, because he maintained that knowledge within inside, and eventually it fructified. And he saw that he was, in an impossible situation. He wasn't going to get real happiness with all of this. And so, of course, he was in his old age by then. But he came to his senses finally and, gave back his youth to Puru. And in his old age, he entered the forest for renunciation and realization. And his wife, this Devyani, also was realized, and this is her prayer for sure. And the previous verse described her realization as well. Devyani, daughter of Shukracharya, understood that the materialistic association of husband, friends, and relatives is like the association in a hotel full of tourists. They come together, but they can't have much of there's no permanent relationship there, even if you find it. And Prabhupada, so much, he gives the description. I remember reading this at the beginning of the second canto, I think, one of the purports there, of the analogy, which is so immediate for us because right next to the ocean. So many things come together in the ocean. I don't know if you know this phrase, flotsam and jetsam. Did you learn that in India? Flotsam and jetsam is all kinds of things that fall into the ocean and just float there. It's just like junk in the ocean. And sometimes they come together and stay together for a while, and then boom, the waves come and throw them apart. And this is the nature of material relationships. You may find, this is my soulmate, and you have some fantasy that we'll be together forever, even after death, we'll be in heaven together, whatever, But it's ridiculous. In this one lifetime, the chances are that it will break up, especially in the modern age, with marriage, as predicted in the 12th canto, is becoming less and less a thing. And even if there is a marriage, then it can easily be dissolved by, I think they still have in America this no-fault divorce, If either party wants to divorce, then the divorce is there. I don't know if you know that. So, obviously, at one point, all material relationships become this friction there. The whole point, and again we hear this in the shastras, the shackles or the binding force that keeps us in this material world is this desire to enjoy the senses separately from God. And It's only in the human form. Only in the human form is there a chance to understand this and thus accept the imperative, the need for a process by which you can turn your attention and your desire to enjoy away from your own senses and toward the transcendent Lord, and really experience the reservoir of pleasure. That little pamphlet, which is so potent, that I think we're still distributing that. They're still coming out. Right? Is it not available anymore? You don't order it, but it's the central part of that little pamphlet is the lecture Prabhupada gave on, I think, Shinvatam Sukata Krishna, the verse in the second chapter, first canto, that is the first of 5 verses that Prabhupada quotes in the purport in the seventh chapter, where Krishna says to Arjuna, after he rejected the Ashtanga Yoga, the 6th chapter is all about serious meditation and so forth. And as we know, Arjuna said, "Nah, I can't do it. Chantalamhi Mana Krishna. My mind is so fickle and so powerful. There's no way I can try to control a hurricane." This is what he says, and we can relate to that, as we say. So Krishna encourages him. He says, yes, it's possible through practice, And Arjuna said, what if I fail? Well, then you can get born in a good, in a wealthy family, pious family, so you won't have to worry about the hard struggle for existence, and you can still continue practice. The point is that you can continue your next life. But Arjuna is still, very pessimistic. He said, I'll be like a riven cloud, I'll give up my life as a Kshatriya, and I'll go to do this, I'll fail in that. So finally, Krishna said, okay. And he gives him the encouraging, Yogi nama bisarvesham madgaten antaratmana shuddhavam bhatate yomam same yukta tamomata. The best of all yogis is the bhakti yogi. And he defines it, one who's always thinking of me within the heart, abiding by my orders, abiding with me. Yogi madgaten antaratmana, the main thing is always remembering me within his heart. And shuddhavam, with great faith, worshipping me with love and devotion. And Arjuna breathes a big sigh of relief and said, well, you're already my best friend, my beloved friend, I'm devoted to you. But then, in the next verse, 7.1, Krishna says, I forget the Sanskrit, but the last word, the Tam Shanu. He says, now I'm going to explain how you can live in this world and still practice yoga, what he said, successful yoga. And then he turns to describing the material energy, how that's all my energy, right? Boom rapo analavayo. But then the purport of that first verse, which ends with Tam Shanu, which means hear from me, Prabhupada quotes this verse, Shinvatam. So actually he quotes 4 or 5 of the verses there, from Shinvatam down to, I think, the last one. And what described there is that Krishna from within your heart, if we're hearing the actual genuine vibration, someone who's realized, like Srila Prabhupada describing the teachings or the very books themselves, the verses we're hearing with, and this is important, the quality of the hearing, it all depends. This word shushushro. Prabhupada would sometimes define it oftentimes as submissive all reception. In other words, you're hearing something that is, challenging your whole way of life, but you're not rejecting it. You're surrendering to the instruction. You're allowing yourself to be transformed by the instruction. Or you say ardent hearing. In other words, you want to hear in order to be improved, in order to make progress, in order to be saved, from suffering. So it can't just be some, superficial thing that, you're shopping around for different things and you come and you never come back, So the quality of the hearing there. But if it's good quality hearing, spoken by realized soul or from realized book, then the quality is that Krishna in the heart, Shinvatam Sukata Krishna. Krishna understands, oh, they're hearing about me? Sukata Krishna, Punya Shavana Kirtana, which causes piety, bhakti piety, just by hearing and chanting. Punya Shavana Kirtana. Ridyantaksto Yabadani Vidunoti. Here's this word Vidunoti, which means, cleanse. He cleanses away the abhadras from within the heart. He's on our side. Vidunoti Sudit Satam, because he is especially the well-wishing friend of the devotees, of those who are trying to approach him. So that's the power. It's not our own power, it's Krishna's power. But our part is to be receptive to the message, to be inquisitive, and when we're hearing, especially from a realized soul or from the purports, we're taking the knowledge in and accepting it and see how does it relate to me, how can I execute, how can I make this knowledge and this philosophy my guiding light in my life, That's our part. And then Krishna takes over, and as said in that section, that second chapter, first canto, text 6 through 21 or so. The very second verse. The first verse is the famous. What is it? First, God. What is it? What is that verse? What is the main the real dharma? What is real dharma? What is it? Savai Pungsang. Thank you. Savai Pungsang Paro Dharma Yato Bhakti Hokshaje Ahaitukya Pradeta Hiyatma Supersediti. So he starts that real dharma is. And that which engenders bhakti. That's what he's saying. Real dharma is that which engenders bhakti. That's why at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, second verse of the whole book, dharma projitakaitavo tra. Here in the Bhagavatam, we're kicking out all of these fake dharmas, these cheating religions. They promise that if you follow this path, you'll be happy. But it's simply a way, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All right, let me practice dharma, karma, kanda, and I'll get artha, get some money, so I can enjoy kama, And then when I finally get tired of all this, I'll get mukti, But in the Bhagavatam, the mukti kami. You can be a mukti kami. In other words, you're lusty after your own liberation. You don't care about anyone else. That's Prahlad's famous prayer. Prayena deva munayo svava mukti kama. He uses that very phrase. Mostly in this world, those who are transcendentalists are after their own liberation. And they go off alone to the Himalayas or some forest somewhere. And then he directly says, maunam chara, they're very silent. That's the source of the word muni. He's coming from maunam, Maunam charanti vijane naparata nishta. They wander where there's no people, not at all caring for others, to do good to others. But Prahlad says, I'm not like that. You see? I'm not like because the previous verse is a shosheta vimukachet, I am lamenting. First he says to Nishingadev, he prays to Nishingadev, I have no problem. You see, for anywhere I can chant your glories and dive into an ocean of bliss. What is my problem? Naibo vijay paraduracya vaitarunyas. But I am lamenting for those who have turned away from you, feeling empathy and sympathy for all these conditioned souls. Vimukha cetasa, turning his consciousness away from you, Sringadev. Vimukha cetasa in the artha, for the sake of pleasing the senses, sense gratification. Maya sukhaya, the illusory happiness of sense gratification. Bodhamudbhito, bearing the great burden of trying to do that and getting that in the material world, and holding on to it. You may enjoy a little bit, but then your credit card runs out, and you got to go back to work. There goes your Hawaiian bliss paradise. You got to go back to San Diego, get back to work. So that's the nature of material happiness. It's temporary. Even Brahman knows that. I may enjoy for millions of years, but I also have to die. So here you have a concentrated example with Devyani and Yayati. Of enjoying, and Prabhupada uses the phrase, and I have to look at that, transcendental bliss, the highest transcendental bliss they enjoyed. All this sex for all this time, that's what it said. But anyway, we'll look into that. But it's the quote, transcendental bliss. In other words, it's what you take to be, but it's not transcendental. It's not permanent, and it's not, it doesn't have that quality. So how do we come to that realization where we can say about sense gratification, no, I don't want any part of it, because it'll damage my affection for Krishna, and then it'll turn me away. And believe me, I've been in this movement so long, and those who know the history, unfortunately, the vast majority of my god brothers and god sisters are certainly not fully involved in the movement now. And many of them have gone back to, sense gratification. Because you can't do both. If you're going to, this is what's so amazing. They were doing both. I mean, they weren't doing both, but the knowledge wasn't destroyed. With Devyani and Yayati, he still knew. And when the time came, he found, all right, this is crazy. And he took off. And she's also like that. But for us, it's very dangerous to play footsie with Maya, because she's always ready. What is that verse? Wish I could remember. But basically it says, forgetting Krishna and desiring to enjoy one's senses, then Maya immediately tackles you. This is a Bengali one. Yeah, thank you. Krishna Bhuli Seji Bhogavancha Nikatasta Maya Tari Japati Hadari. And this Nikatasta Maya Japati Hadari, I always think of a football field. Not soccer, real football field where the guy, now they're 300 pounds, these guys. The guys behind the line ready to tackle, they grab you and throw you down, That's what Maya does. As soon as desiring to enjoy the sense gratification, you turn away from Krishna. That's the first line, right? You turn away. Krishna Bhuli Se Jeev, Anadi Bahirmukha. Simply means turning your face away. And what do you turn it toward? Maya, So that's where your attention is. So Maya is ready to, yes, come on, she's right ready. Nikata Maya Japati Adhari, and throws you down. And we've all experienced that. That's why we're in the material world. But Prabhupada came in order to say, okay, now remember Krishna again. You forgot him a long time ago, many births ago maybe. But now here's a simple way to start remembering him. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Just chant that, the Hare Krishna mantra. The easiest process. No preliminary qualification involved. Your only preliminary creation is a little interest, a little faith, willingness to try it. And if you do, then Krishna, he's in your heart, right? And he's responding. And you feel, I'm just reading this incredible book, Chasing the Rhinoceros, part 1 and part 2 with the Swami. Shamasundar's memoirs of his time. And, the hippie, I realized this before I ever heard of this book, that Prabhupada, the time that Prabhupada came was obviously arranged by Krishna. If he had come in the middle of the 50s with the McCarthy thing and all of this, would he be able to plant the seed? Or if he had come, maybe a decade later, things would have been wholly different, No, right then when there was this revolution in consciousness and the Beatles were there, thinking about Ravi Shankar going to India. And there was this whole thing that happened in San Francisco. The movement really flourished there, began to flourish in the summer of love. And Prabhupada was right in the middle of it, Remember that picture where Simon Sundar carved this big Jagannath, deities? And then, why not? Let's take him out to the park. So they took it's like taking Vāsudeva and standing him out. So, they started. And there's a picture of Prabhupada chanting, and right next to him is Jagannath, the Jagannath deity from the temple. And we got back and said, no, you don't take the deity out and put him in the park, But that's where they were, and then the hippies are all dancing around, And so it was fortuitous, this is Krishna's arrangement. Because the ground was there, the ground for the seeds to start to fructify, to be able to plant, a fair number of seeds so that Krishna consciousness would take hold. And other times it wouldn't, Anyway, we're fortunate, recipients of this treasure, and this hard work Prabhupada put in. Middle of the night, he's dictating these purports. We should always remember how much work he put in. Okay, let's just go through this purport real quick. Okay, so here but the first sentence, one should be convinced that. Now, how can you be convinced? By practicing and hearing, the instruction. One should be convinced that he's a spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, but has somehow or other been entrapped by the material coverings of the gross and subtle bodies consisting of earth, water, etc. So, how can you be convinced of that? Well, you have to be practicing Krishna consciousness, and you have to read this thing in the Bhagavad Gita, and understand that. Okay, yes, this is why when I'm chanting, and you're making a little dance, and I'm actually following, and this is why I'm feeling more peaceful, while I'm feeling some bliss. I know I'm not a pure devotee yet, but that was such an ecstatic kirtan. I practically left my body. In other words, Prabhupada created a situation where we have the knowledge, and if we follow it, if we follow the program, then we'll actually begin to experience the benefits of it. You know, as it says in the next verse after Savai Pungsam, Vāsudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Payojita, Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayirahoitakam. That if, for one who's actually taking up this process and beginning serving Vāsudeva, Bhakti, Vāsudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Payojita, then Janayat Yashu, and this word Ashu, who knows what Ashu means besides Ramapati? You know that word, Ashu. Quickly. Yeah, without delay. Janayati is the same word in English, generates. Generate Ashu, next word, Vairagyam. And next word, Jnana. These two are essential elements of our, transforming of our consciousness. Vairagya, the things that we're mad after before, in the fire of sense gratification, the disease of sense gratification, you become detached from. No, I took these, first is, very important, yes, I vow, and my new name is such and such, I'm going to chant 16 rounds, and no meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, Well, there still may be some desire for gambling, let's leave it at that one, but all of them. But you say, no, I can't do it, so that's a key element. And the chanting and the kirtans and the process gives you the spiritual strength to actually follow that vow. Otherwise, there's no hope. And after some time, it's like there's no question. No, I'm not even going to have any coffee. Is there any chocolate in that? I'm not going to eat any chocolate in that. It looks like a chocolate. Oh, it's carob? Okay, I'll take it. Even to that extent. So how does that determine? It grows. Good association, regularity, and regular chanting and hearing, and Krishna is in your heart. So this is a wonderful, happy ending to this whole saga here, that they both got realized in renouncing. But it's also for us. One should be convinced. Well, we have to be convinced. And that comes from faithfully attending programs, classes, studying the books, discussing them, and trying to live them. And then on the other side of that, one should know that the association of society, material society, friendship, love, nationalism, religion, materialistic religion, are nothing but creations of Maya, illusion. One's only business is to become Krishna conscious, to render service to Krishna as extensively as possible for a living being. So a good part of that is adopting Prabhupada's mood of trying to share, try to bring others to Krishna consciousness through, of course, book distribution, kirtan, the whole process. Deity worship is such an important thing. People come to the temple, and the deities are beautiful, they're friendly, they're inviting, they're loving. Someone who sees that, they want to come back and become attached. It's great. That's the whole point of the temple. So in all these different avenues, we have a role to play obviously in our own sadhana, but also in this outreach, which really is the most pleasing service for Krishna, as he says right at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. There's no one more dear to me than those who are spreading my message, as you say. And we see, well, Prabhupada is so dear. He sacrificed everything, risked his life. And he once said, I just heard this recently, that he said to one of his secretaries, I think, that all this traveling all over the world, 14 times around the world, he said it took 10 years off his life. His health, And anyone who travels a lot knows that it's a strain, So one's only business, we can take this, as the concluding or the summary sentence of the whole chapter here. One's only business is to become Krishna conscious and render service unto Krishna as extensively as possible for a living being. In this way, one is liberated from material bondage. By the grace of Krishna, Devayani attained this state through the instructions of her husband. And we can attain that state through the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers. So it's 8:30 now. If there are any questions, comments, objections? No objections? All right, I'll share a nectar verse with you. I was talking last night about prayer. The books of the Goswamis, and also the writings of Vishwanath Chakrabarti, and the songs that that Prabhupada gave us. They're real treasures, and many of them are like prayers. So here's one verse from a book called the Govinda Virodavali, which is like From that book is where I came up with this stupid phrase, Rupa rap. But it is like that. It's by Rupa Goswami, and Viruddhavali is a form of Sanskrit poetry, a series of Viruddhas, of calling out to Krishna. And in that form, there's no ending, and M and H with a dot. No, everything ends in it. And here's a sample. I won't translate this one, but just give you a sample of a Viruddhavali. It goes on like that for 15 verses. Now I think officially, they probably chant it a little slower, because even I can't, try to put all the meanings together in that. But that's a Viruddhavali. But then he also wove in ordinary verses, and this is one of those. So the whole meditation is on the beautiful face of Krishna, the lotus face. Smita duchi makadanda syandi bhakta aravindam Tavapada padahangsan vishta gandham mukunda Vidajita pashupali netra sarangarangam Mamadidiyata dhage sangamangi karotu. From the lotus of your face, dear Lord, trickles forth the luscious beauty of the nectar of your smile. I'm sorry, trickles forth the luscious nectar of the beauty of your smile. Forgive me. From the lotus of your face, dear Lord, trickles forth the luscious nectar of the beauty of your smile. Your exalted devotees, great swans, seek the fragrance of that lotus, which does there their hearts beguile. Your beloved gopis' eyes, mad bees, taste the most exquisite pleasure in that lotus of your face. O my dear Mukunda Dev, I pray, may the lake of my poor heart be by that lotus ever graced. What more do you want? To pray to always remember Krishna, and his face, everything about him, And he responds to those prayers, and we should take advantage of all that we've been given and try to give it to others to help them become Krishna conscious. Okay, no questions, no comments, no objections. Let us adjourn. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.